connected, staying linked, staying in the Son, in the Spirit, in the Father, and having the Father, the Son, and the Spirit staying connected to us. And I'll just say this and flip it to you, but when I first began to study this, the Lord gave me this image of like a fruit tree. And He said this to me. He said, you've never seen a fruit tree shaking and trying to produce, like trying to pop some fruit out. You've never seen that because that's not how it works. Fruit happens when the fruit tree is connected, when the branch is connected to the tree, is connected to the soil, fruit automatically happens. And guys, this is the point.
Yes.
If we will stay abiding in Jesus, abiding with Holy Spirit, connecting to Holy Spirit, fruit will begin to manifest through us without any striving. It will happen automatically because that's the nature of being connected to God. Fruitfulness manifests.
So He's giving us an agricultural term, a reality,
Yeah.
to the mystical, spiritual reality
Yes.
He just laid out in 14.
Yes.
And so
He's tying them together.
He's tying those two together. And Jesus is in us, the Holy Spirit's in us. Jesus is the vine within us. We're the branches. And He calls us to abide in Him.
Yes.
Now, what does that mean? A branch is abiding. It's already set up to do it. Is it drawing on the sap of the vine?
Yes, yes.
Is it receiving the nutrients, receiving the life flow
go
of the vine?
Yeah. Explain it to us.
Yeah. No, I'm asking.
You're telling.
Yeah.
Tell us.
I always love to say it. I'm receiving. What was it saying? I am. When I'm abiding in the vine, I'm receiving the sap. I'm drinking the sap. I'm letting it flow. So it really is about this union and this indwelling and this surrender to the flow of God on the inside of you. No hindrances, no blockages, no striving, no working to produce your own righteousness. But it's a complete leaning back. The picture of John 13, of John leaning back on Jesus, is the picture. And I would say this, and I want to tease this out about what does it mean to abide?
Yes.
I mean, one is we're already built for it. It's breathing. I think it's learning how to receive.
It's learning how to slow down.
Yes.
Learning how to dial down. We're so driven. We're so results oriented. We're so committed. I love to say this. We're committed to God's ends, but we don't want to do God's means.
Christianity is not outside in. It's inside out. And I think God is switching us in this hour to living from the inside out. That's what's going on with the vine. We're the branches. You're not producing the fruit. You're manifesting fruit out of your relationship with the vine. Now, abiding in Him, I think it's one we're built for it. All we're called to is to receive the life flow. He says, if you don't bear fruit, He goes, a branch cannot bear fruit of itself unless it abides in the vine. Neither can you unless you abide in Him. What does it look like to not abide in Him?
Yeah, so I want to let's draw in on verse 2, because verse 2 and verse 6 are actually different. And a lot of times
Talk about this.
People confuse these.
Yes.
So He says, every branch in me, in verse 2, that does not bear fruit, He takes away. Now, you might have one of these Bibles where it says in the margin, He lifts up.
Yes.
He lifts up. And I think that's the more literal translation to the phrase that's used there. And the idea is this. If you've ever had a tomato plant, and sometimes you'll see certain branches and they're getting crowded out by the other branches. So you've got to take those branches and you've got to put them on a stick, and you've got to lift it up away from the other branches so it can actually receive the nourishment, the sunlight, so it can be fruitful. And so the branches, sometimes we have these seasons of challenge and difficulty, and we're not experiencing the fruit and the life of God and the fruit of God being manifest through us. Well, what happens is the Father takes special interest in us in those seasons. And He comes as this tender vine dresser, and instead of it him taking it away. He's lifting it away is the idea from the other branches so that it can be more fruitful. But here's the second part of verse 2. Every branch that bears fruit, he prunes, and that it may bear more fruit. Now watch this. Sometimes you're in a season where he needs to pay special attention to you, to lift you up so you can bear fruit. Other times, you're in a season where you've been very fruitful, and all of a sudden, it's like it shuts off.
Yes.
And so often, I've had these seasons in my life where I was like, what happened? Because, man, everything seemed like it was blowing up. Everything was blessed.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden, it was like he drew back. And the pruning seasons are they are necessities to us. They are so necessary. If we don't go through pruning seasons, what happens to a plant? If all it did was produce fruit, A, it would wear the plant completely out. It would destroy the plant. But B, the fruit would rot on the vine.
Wow.
And so what he does is he actually, he cultivates the fruit, and then he cuts the vine, he cuts the branch back. So you're in a certain season of your life, and you're like, man, it was so much better way back when. What have I do wrong? Yeah, what I do wrong? What have I grown to? I've grown to less than what I was.
Yes.
And so often we can be in that season thinking, what have I done wrong? And it's not what you did wrong, it's what you did right. Because pruning is essential for health. If you've never been pruned, I'm telling you, it's something that God does to... When you're being pruned, it's something that God does because he's tenderly taking care of you. And I like to use this analogy. In charismatic Christianity, we love to talk about spring, new growth, and fall, harvest. Yeah. We love those. Oh, it's God's doing a new thing right now. He's breaking forth. Do you not perceive? It's a new thing. That's one message we always preach. Yes. The other message we always preach is it's harvest. God's breaking it. It's all the prayers are coming answered right now. It's your harvest time. It's your blessing time. It's your breakthrough. It's your time for your thing with your God. I mean, it's like those are our two messages. No one.
The two other seasons.
Yeah, no one ever mentions, oh, by the way, summer and winter. Summer, it's hot. There's the message. No one, winter, everything's almost dead. No one's preaching that, but those two seasons are critical for the life of the other seasons. And we have to recognize that's how it works with God, that there's seasons he grows us through. There's seasons of maturity. There's seasons of fruitfulness and pruning. So now two is too important for us to just blow off.
Yeah, and then how would you contrast that with verse 6 to where it seems a little different? Where the first one was takes away, care for.
Yeah.
The other ones is, do you think it's just a persistent negligence to tend this place and to defiantly go away from living in God?
Yeah, because the contrast is, verse 2 is every branch in me.
Yes.
Verse 6 is every branch that does not abide in me.
Wow.
So the contrast is evident. It's the branch that says, I'm no longer staying connected to the vine. That branch it's exiting.
Yes.
And he says there's only one thing that happens when a branch falls off a vine, it dries up. That's it.
And so he then brings us into verse 7, which I think John 15:7 may be my favorite verse on prayer in the Bible. And again, I think it's all one conversation. Mm-hmm. John 14, John 15. He's now teasing it out using agricultural language. Yeah. But he's using the word abide. If you abide in me, okay, that's powerful. But he's adding another thing. My words abide in you. And when that happens, he says this, you're going to ask what you desire, and it will be done for you. By this my Father is glorified, that you bear much fruit, so you'll be my disciples. This is connected with the greater works as well. Because he told him in the greater works, you'll ask anything in my name, and I'll do it.
Yes.
Right now he's saying, if you abide in me, and my words abide in you, you have a blank check. Which means you're living in union with me. Yeah. But he's talking about giving us a practical way of letting his words live on the inside of us.
Yeah. You know, one of the ways you've challenged me over the years is like when we haven't talked for a while, we'll always catch up. Yeah. We'll get the details on what God's been doing, what's God saying, what's been happening. And if I'm like in a season where maybe God's doing stuff,
you almost always, and I do it now to you because I learned it from you, but you'll almost go, what verses is he on with you? What verses are you praying? And sometimes I've been just sort of charismatic, like, oh man, this is the move of God, it's Holy Spirit.
All of it.
All the verses. But it's challenged me to anchor in those seasons when the Holy Spirit's moving in certain ways to say, now what are the truths
Yes.
you want me to anchor